I want people to know they don't have to be burdened with fear. They
Yeah.
can actually walk in the direction of a higher dream, a higher vision, and fear will change. And now your immune system is stronger, your blood pressure is better, you're assimilating your nutrition better, you're digesting your food better, you're eliminating toxins better, you're becoming healthier, you're slowing down your aging process, and you become more available to insights and sweet whisperings from the universal presence, guiding you, always guiding you, if you will but listen. Mistake that people make, they try to get rid of their fear. No, let it be transmuted by you walking in the direction of your dream and your vision.
Welcome to the Heart of Show Business. I am your host, Alexia. I believe in great storytelling and that every successful artist has a deep desire to express something from the heart to create a ripple effect in our society. All right, Reverend Michael Beckwith, welcome to my show to begin with. I am so honored and blessed to be in your presence and to have been following you through so many years. Of course, for the Eden magazine and also for the podcast, everybody sort of discovered you when The Secret came out. Although Agape has been around, I read, since 1986. So I'm just wondering, how did Rhonda Byrne find you to begin with?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Agape had been going on for some time, since 86, and it was pretty full even before The Secret, and The Secret just put it over the top. Basically, I was invited to go to Aspen with other thought leaders that were friends of mine to film The Secret, but I couldn't do it because my schedule was too tight. It just could not be done. So they did the major part of the filming with Bob Proctor and Jack Canfield and a number of other of my friends in Aspen. And then Rhonda Burns was flying to Australia, where she was from, but she had a layover in Los Angeles. So she had this layover and she decided to go to this place called Agape International. And she goes to Agape International and I'm speaking. And after I finish speaking, she comes running up to me and she says, "Oh my God, this is fabulous. Everything you said is just so magnificent. Will you be in my movie?" And I said, "What movie?" And she said, "It's called The Secret." And I said, "Oh yeah, people told me about that. You guys just filmed in Aspen." And she said, "Yes, will you be in it?" I said, "Sure." And she says, "Well, can we put up a blue screen and a green screen and just start shooting?" I said, "Sure." So they put up a green screen. She started interviewing me. And after a few moments of interviewing me, she said, "Wow, this is fantastic. Just talk. I'm not going to ask you any more questions. Just talk, just teach." And that's what I did. Her and Drew began to ask a few more questions. I started teaching, and then the rest is history. She took what I taught that day and obviously edited portions of it within the movie called The Secret. And the rest is history. It went obviously more than viral. And The Secret today still has legs. People are still discovering it. I go to places around the world and people come up to me and they've just seen it or they've watched it again, and they give me great thanks for my participation in it as the featured teacher. And it was just a fantastic serendipitous moment that she had to have a layover in Los Angeles before she went to Australia. She comes to Agape, sees me teaching, and next day I'm in the movie.
Gosh, I love this manifestation stuff. I mean, it was obviously the perfect time and the perfect place, just as the perfect time and the perfect place that I have you here after so many years. I've been visioning having you on my podcast since I first created it in 2020, and here we go. So I can totally relate to that. So there you have it. I have to ask you, because obviously there is nobody really spoke about spirituality before. I mean, they did, but they associated with like new age woo-woo stuff. And then, The Secret came out, and then obviously Agape and what it stands for, everybody goes and says, oh, I'm a spiritual person. But how do you really define spirituality and the practice of it?
Well, when you use the word spiritual, that word is synonymous with eternal and forever. So when we say that we are a spiritual being, we're saying in substance that who we really are in our essence has emerged from the eternal presence. It's beyond religiosity or religion. It's our real nature. So when someone says, I'm a spiritual being, everyone is really a spiritual being, whether they know it or not. Some people don't know that they're a spiritual being. They think that they were created by their parents. They were imprinted by society, imprinted by the schools they went to and the experiences they had. Those are temporary imprints, and your parents just allowed you to come into this dimension, but your parents didn't create you. We have emerged from the eternal presence of intelligence, love, and beauty. And so when you say that we are spiritual, we're basically saying that we are eternal beings, and we have a lifetime that has infinite chapters. It used to be said that, you have different lifetimes. And that's true in a sense, but we have one life with many chapters. And those chapters may include different incarnations. But we are spiritual beings here to expand our awareness of the ineffable, of that which is real. Again, spiritual can be used, the word real can be put there, capital R real. Real, eternal, forever. We're here to expand our awareness of that which is real and then express it, reveal it, manifest it as according to our unique pattern. So it is true. It is not new age woo-woo. It is not just a temporary fad. To have a spiritual practice means that you're having certain technologies and intentionalities to expand your awareness so that you begin to see, be, and live differently. You live according to love, beauty, intelligence, divine order. These qualities are intrinsic within every spiritual being, but oftentimes hidden because people have been imprinted and they're blinded by time, you see. Hope that makes sense there.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I believe that. And I believe that I think there is an association of spirit. I'm a spiritual person, therefore I must be perfect. And I am perfect. And I think the biggest challenge that we all have is that I know one of your principles at Agape is always that you are a unique manifestation of the God presence, right? And we're celebrating that. But it's sometimes difficult to consider yourself unique when you feel you're flawed, because we're the biggest and worst judges of ourselves. So somehow people, I think, associated spirituality with perfectionism. And so when we feel flawed, how do we embrace the shortcomings and still be connected to our God self?
Yeah, you're asking a very, very important question. When we are perfect, but we're not perfectionist, meaning that there's something about our spiritual nature that's perfect. There's something about what we have emerged from is perfect, and that perfection is always unfolding. So it's called unfoldment and evolution. So when you see a seed of a rose, let's say as an example, within that seed is the rose bush and ultimately the rose, which is the perfection of the rose bush. So within us is the germ of the seed of the Christ or of the Buddha mind, that which is perfect, but we are unfolding to reveal that. So it's not about being perfect according to societal standards. It's about doing what is necessary to eliminate That which is covering our mind from seeing who we are, so that we're unfolding to reveal the perfection. Now, oftentimes people are harsh and very judgmental of themselves because they're comparing themselves to other people. They have some kind of standards from society that they're placing themselves against when we are incomparable. We can never compare ourselves to anyone else because we are unique. How can I say that? Because this presence, you can call it the God presence, you can call it the love presence, you can call it life itself. One, it never does do-overs. It gets it right the first time. Two, it never repeats itself. So that because it's infinite, it can never repeat itself. So we are one of one. We're not one of 8 billion. We are one of one. There's no one else like us. Just like there's no leaves on the tree exactly like another leaf. There's no snowflake exactly like another snowflake. We are not exactly like any other spiritual being having a human incarnation. So we're already unique, you see. And so when we understand that we're already unique, then we begin to ask ourselves, what is it within me that I am to give, that I am to contribute, that I am to share? What is my artistry? What is my element of creativity that I'm to share with the world? And as I begin to ask that question, I begin to hear with the still small, I begin to hear the still small voice. I begin to hear the rumbling of my soul as to my own uniqueness and to what I'm to give. And then I begin to share that. Along the way, I begin to discover areas in which I put myself down. I begin to discover imprints, the way the world has imprinted me, that has hindered me from seeing the perfection. They may have revealed themselves as what the world may call a flaw or a mistake. Well, a mistake within us is two things. One, it's a mistake, like an actor will have a take, and then they mess up a little bit, and that's called a mistake. Then they take it over, you see? But really, what it is inside of us is a gift in embryonics. It's in its embryonic state. It's just something within us that needs to grow. It's not that we're evil or bad. There's just something within us that needs a little watering, a little tending to. And then we grow. If we look back on our life, we can see some of the mistakes and some of the seeming flaws were exactly what is necessary for us to learn more about ourselves so that we could take better steps, better takes the next time. Everyone's imprinted. From the time you're in the womb of your mom, there are conversations around you. When you come into the world, there are people talking about things. There are things on the news. There's the social milieu. We get imprinted. There are people that are brainwashed into racism and things of that particular nature. They get imprinted. And so as we grow, we begin to realize, oh, those imprints are not who I am. Those are things, the dust and the dirt of the world that's gotten on me. I begin to meditate. I begin to affirmatively pray. I begin to practice life visioning. I begin to practice affirmation, study. I begin to do spiritual practices that begin to dissolve the imprints. And I begin to see who I really am. It's called a homecoming. I come back to my real nature. And then I begin again, you see? And we're not flawed beings. Humanly, there are flaws. Humanly, there are imprints. But spiritually, we're all right.
Oh, yeah.
We're coming back to our spiritual nature.
Yes.
Oftentimes, people are religiously abused. They'll be a part of a religion, that incorrectly tells them that they're born from sin and that there's something called an original sin. That's called religious abuse. If you take a small child and you tell them that they have an original sin and they actually believe that, they start to diminish their light. They start to feel that there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with what God has created. We just have to rediscover it, and we have to activate it and grow into it, you see. Yeah.
Wow, that is such a beautiful statement. And I actually would like to add to that. Look at how many people have gone through challenges, where you're talking about the, being flawed. Tina Turner, I mean, she went through so much. And then through the mud, like, she became a Buddhist and she started chanting the Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, which is about the lotus flower that is born to the mud. But then that flaw of maybe accepting the abuse, of maybe going through all that, look who she became as a result of that and how she used her voice. And so I always say to people, your voice, no matter how small or insignificant you may think it is, has so much power. The right word said at the right time. I mean, how many times we come to Agape and it's crazy. When I come to see you, I'm looking for an answer sometimes, and somehow what you're talking about that day exactly addresses what I need to hear in the moment. And so the voice of even the challenges that we had, it is so important. And it's just how you turn, like you said, your mistake into, let me do a take instead of a mistake,
A new
which
take.
a new take. And then going into the vibration of joy, right? I know that, and I love coming to Agape because you always have amazing artists. I don't even know where you bring them out of the woods. And then they bring so much joy and dancing. And you started a movement called Dance with a Rev. You're a great dancer. So I wanted to know, why does music and dance contribute to going into a feeling state of joy and gratitude?
Oh, that's very powerful. Even before I established Agape in 1986, I had something called Agape Transformationals, which were seminars before seminars were very popular. And I had different exercises and transformational exercises, but I always began those exercises with music to help people get into their heart space and out of their head. And music and lyrics, particularly the music, but and the lyrics are very important as well. That particular sound, that's vibration.
Mm.
And the vibration, and since we're mainly water, we're 80 to 90% water. That vibration goes into your body and the water, and it changes the body chemistry so that not only are you receptive on the heart level, but your immune system becomes balanced and amplified. You start to produce tonic chemicals rather than toxic chemicals. And the body, which is a chemistry set that can produce every single thing that you need for health, begins to produce tonic chemicals that allows you to be more healthy, slows down the aging process, eliminates the condition for disease. So music is not just entertainment, it's entrainment into a higher frequency. So when you combine music and then you combine motion, dance, moving of the body temple with an activated message, then individuals get elevated
Mm.
and they have a level of practice. They're able to sustain that elevation throughout the course of the week. And then the trajectory of their life changes. So as I teach at Agape, you don't come to Agape to get high. You come to Agape to get free,
Mm.
free from the constraints, from the limited mind and heart sets, and the limited toxicity that you're bombarded with from the world, the news, which I call the olds. So, so, so real music is very important. Real vibrational frequency is extremely important to sustain the insights that we get when we come to a place such as Agape International. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I have to say that beyond obviously the dancing and the music, what kept me sane even during the pandemic, because you kept on doing your live streaming, God bless you for that, through the whole thing. And I remember when you were talking about, we obviously don't want to go into politics, but you were talking about the fear is really the virus,
Yeah.
and cultivating the state of fear for so many years, and obviously the mental health issues that whatever happened in this past 3 years has created. And so how can we fight? Well, fight is not really the right word. How can we challenge fear um, with all the war and the conflict that is going on even today, past
Yeah.
the event?
There's so much happening. As you said, the last 3 years have been a challenge to humanity with the lockdown of healthy people. First time it's ever happened in history with actually lockdown people who are healthy. It's never happened before.
Yeah.
And then you had a pandemic of a coronavirus, of which coronavirus obviously has been existed for thousands of years. It's not a new thing. They just
Nope.
mutate. They mutate. You see, that's what it does. It mutates. And so you combine that with the virus of the mind. The
Mm-hmm.
virus of the mind is fear. So when you have fear, you actually um, begin to hinder your immune system. Fear is not a friend to your immune system. Faith is, joy is, love is, it assists your immune system. But fear hinders the immune system. So if an individual is addicted to the fear mongering that emanates from our newscasts, then you're hindering yourself. So as you said, many people, I get so many letters and testimonies today, people saying, as you just said, you got me through the pandemic. You got me through COVID. You got me through coronavirus because I was so caught up in fear that I forgot who I was. But you brought me back to myself,
Yeah.
which eliminated the fear, dissolved the fear in me. So this is why we put an emphasis on joy. Joy is the evidence of God. The emphasis on asking the right questions. The emphasis on not becoming addicted to the news so that you become afraid. So this is how you deal with fear. Fear stands for, face everything and run, or face everything and rise. Many
Ooh.
people, they face everything and then they try to run away from it. Or you can rise. Now, how do you rise? Fear is an energy, okay? So when you don't try to get rid of fear, that's impossible. If you try to get rid of fear, you end up having defense mechanisms, coping mechanisms, and compulsive behavior. Many people have what I call a fear phobia. They are afraid of fear. So they drink, they eat a lot of sugar, they overeat, they watch too much television, they binge watch television rather than binge watch their own thinking.
Oh, yeah.
And so basically, they're trying to run away from fear. Instead of running away from fear, you ask instead, what is it that is mine to do in the world right now? What gift am I to give? How am I to share right now? You ask that question, the universe will answer you. And they'll say, maybe, call a friend. They'll say, maybe go feed the homeless. Maybe they'll say, write a poem. Maybe the voice will say, it's time for you to take a class. It'll give you something productive to do. He's not trying to get rid of fear. So when you start to walk in the direction of that vision or dream, fear then becomes excitement. It's just all energy. Everything is energy. So then fear transmutes itself into excitement. You start becoming excited. Oh, I'm going to go feed the homeless today. I'm going to call a friend of mine and just have a friendly conversation. I'm going to write a letter to somebody that I haven't talked to in a while and just wish them well. So now my fear is becoming an energy called excitement. And then if I keep going, it becomes enthusiasm. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't get rid of the fear. It transmutes itself, just as ice, when it becomes heated, transmutes itself into water. It becomes heated, transmutes itself into gas. Fear becomes excitement. Excitement becomes enthusiasm if you walk in the direction of a bigger dream. If you try to just get rid of fear, you can become an alcoholic. You can go to happy hour and not be happy. You can watch television all day. You can eat chips and just, fill yourself with nothing but empty calories. You can read a good book. You can read my book.
Oh, all of them. I got them all. And they're amazing. And even the CD ones that they come in that you can listen
Yes,
to them
you
in
can
your car. If you still have a CD in your car.
yeah, you can do
Yeah.
something else. You see, you
Yeah.
can watch my podcast, Take Back Your Mind, and
Which is
take,
amazing. Yeah.
yeah.
Fellow
But, but,
podcaster.
but
Yeah.
the point is, I want people to know they don't have to be burdened with
Yeah.
fear. They
Yeah.
can actually walk in the direction of a higher dream, a higher vision, and fear will change. And now your immune system is stronger, your blood pressure is better,
Mm.
you're assimilating your nutrition better, you're digesting your food better, you're eliminating toxins better, you're becoming healthier, you're slowing down your aging process, and you become more available to insights and sweet whisperings from the universal presence, guiding you, always guiding you, if you will but listen. The mistake that people make is they try to get rid of their fear. No, let it be transmuted by you walking in the direction of your dream and your vision.
Wow, that is so beautiful. Now I remember, don't run, rise. Don't run, rise. That's the key word. Everything is in the R.
Face everything and run, or face everything and rise.
And rise. I love that. So is that something that is related also to what you call a blissipline? I got you the little book from this Sunday. So how do we practice blissipline, as you call it? And how does it enhance the readers of Eden Magazine or the listeners for their ability to manifest their
Discipline,
desires?
discipline is a word that I coined many years ago. It's in my book, Spiritual Liberation. And I was teaching, I don't remember how many years ago, but I was speaking. And what came out was the fact that if you have a discipline, let's say you wake up every day, and I teach people to wake up every day, for example, and to read their vision, read something they want to manifest. Just read it before you go to bed, read it when you wake up in the morning, or read an affirmation, or read something inspirational, or practice meditation, affirmative prayer. What happens is if you become disciplined, and discipline comes from the awareness that a disciple is doing something they love. If a person loves music, they can become a disciple of learning how to play the piano or the guitar. And what happens is the discipline becomes a blissipline. You feel good when you do it. It's not obligation. It's not like, oh, I'm disciplined and I have to do it. When you really love it, it's like you want to do it. You want to read your affirmation in the morning. You want to stop and have a moment of meditation. So discipline evolves to a blissipline. It's like I tell people, don't leave home without it. Don't
Hmm.
leave home without stopping for a few moments. And instead of getting to the hustle and bustle of life, stop. Have a moment of silence, stillness, solitude, and feel your way back to yourself. You see, and after a while, you love it. It's a bliss. It's bliss. You love it. You see. So discipline becomes blissipline if you have a spiritual practice, you see. And then it's like I can't live without it. I can sit for long periods of time if I have the time. I love it. And I start to get information, knowledge, insights into new ways of teaching, new ways of saying spiritual principles. I started to get insights into things that are about to happen in life that make me more prepared, you see. So oftentimes when people hear the word discipline, they think of something almost negative. Oh, I got to be disciplined.
Yeah.
But the root word is actually to love. I'm disciplined because I love music. I'm disciplined because I love working out because I want to be healthy. I'm disciplined because I love eating good food. And then it becomes a discipline. It feels good, you see. So that's where it came.
Oh,
Yeah.
it does feel good because I think when we think about discipline, it's almost like a student. You go, do your homework. You got
All
to
right.
do your homework every day. And you're like, no, I want to do my homework. And even though it's helping you, you're not doing it. So the bliss of it is so important. And, you
It's
know,
like my grandson, he likes to learn.
yeah.
So he reads and does his homework, not because he has to, but he's a student of learning. So it becomes a discipline. Baba, did you know about this? I just read X, Y, and Z. He likes to learn. So it's a discipline, not just, oh, I got to do my homework because I got to get an A and I got to graduate on time. It's no, I love learning. The byproduct is you may get a good grade, you may graduate, etc. That's the byproduct of learning. So bliss, most people don't get bliss. Since we're
Hmm.
bringing up the word bliss, it's like when you start to wake up and become free, you come into a fork in the road. One side of the fork is pleasure. The other side of the fork is bliss. So
Mm,
some people choose pleasure, which is temporary, and you can become addicted to pleasure. But if you choose bliss, which comes from awakening, you get pleasure, but you get freedom. If you're just a pleasure seeker, you may not get freedom. You may just get addiction. Oh, it's so much pleasure to eat all this chocolate. You know, it's a pleasure to do this. It's a pleasure to do that. But if you come to yourself, you get bliss and pleasure. But the bliss is more permanent and the pleasure is more permanent. You don't become addicted to bliss. You can only become addicted to pleasure.
I had never thought of it this way. That, wow, okay. That, and yeah, and I would think that also bliss is being in nature, right?
Mm.
And I know you spoke about being in a meditative state and being on your own. And obviously, we're looking at the sanctity and the preciousness of Mother Earth. You do a lot of retreats in nature, which I've seen, bucket list for me to come to one of them, the ones in Costa Rica. And how do you feel? Do you feel that being in nature is actually helping us? How can we protect the sanctity of this planet? Is it has to do with our energy? Is this the way we eat? Do we have to do something in order to keep it going?
Yeah. You're asking two questions in one, but I think they're really
I
good
know.
questions. It's two good questions. One, when you go into nature, like a tree is a living being. It's alive. So a couple of things are happening. One, what you breathe out, the tree is breathing in. The
Mm,
forest is our second set of lungs. We breathe out carbon dioxide. It breathes in carbon dioxide and gives us oxygen. So the forest, the rainforest and the woods, they are our lungs. So there's a symbiotic relationship with the grass and with the flowers and with the trees and the bushes and the foliage. They are our lungs. So that we're one with each other. Secondly, the tree's alive. When you walk through the forest, the tree literally vibrationally bows at your divinity. The tree recognizes your divine nature. So when you're basking in nature, you're getting all of this vibrational feedback as to who you are as a spiritual being, of which you may have forgotten because you have shoes on, you're walking on cement, and you're in an office or you're in a car, cutting you off from nature. So you're depleting yourself from a natural source. Some people call it a resource, but because it's resourcing the presence, but it's a natural source of inspiration. So that's one thing. Secondly, when we start to have reverence for the earth, which is holy, reverence for Mother Nature, and we get that reverence by having an awareness that we're at one with nature. When men, and I use the word men on purpose, when men don't feel connected to Mother Earth, they strip mine the earth, they bomb other nature, they bomb other nations, scorch the earth with napalm and phosphorus and neutron bombs, and not only killing human beings, but they don't have any reverence for the earth. They strip mine it, they cut down the rainforest because they're not in touch with themselves. They've drifted so far from who they are. They have no sanctity and no reverence for the earth, as well as for other human beings. So as we grow more in our spiritual nature, we love the earth. We love the oceans. We love the rivers. We love the lakes. We love the trees. We're not going to pollute it. We're not going to put plastic in the oceans that kill the fish and the dolphins and the whales. We're not going to put sewage in the ocean. You see, we start to realize, oh my God, I'm one with Mother Earth. I am an earthling. I'm a spiritual being that have emerged from the earth. I want to be a good steward of the earth. I don't want to pollute it or bomb it. I want to take care of it as I would take care of myself. However, many people don't take care of themselves. They'll take care of their automobile better than they'll take care of their body temple. They'll put the best gas in their body temple, but to put fast foods, they'll put the best gas in their car, but then put non-nutritional food in the body temple because they're so far removed from themselves. So when a person starts to awaken to their spiritual nature, the ramifications are you start to love who you are, not from an egocentric point of view. You start to love what the universe has created, one of a kind. You start to realize you're at one with nature. You start to take care of nature. You start to take care of the earth. You start to have reverence for each other. Doesn't matter what color skin they are. Doesn't matter where they were born. Doesn't matter what language they speak. Doesn't matter what their nationality is, what their religion is. You start to realize, oh my God, we're all sacred beings. We've emerged from the eternal as unique expressions of God. How boring would the world be if every single being looked exactly alike? Exactly the same fingerprints, exactly the same eye color, exactly the same color of skin. God doesn't do that. God creates diversity, but does not eliminate unity. We're all one in our diverse nature, you see.
Ooh, that is amazing. I don't even have to ask you that the other question because you just covered that one. But here's the thing though, we open ourselves up to be more connected to other beings. And I know that I'm an amazing empath and I feel everything. Many of the readers of Data Magazine, they feel everything. What happens when you are so connected and so empathetic towards whatever is happening in the world that you're feeling all the pain that comes through the negative stuff?
Yeah.
How do you keep your boundaries? How do you keep yourself sane so that you do not feel helpless and you
Mhm.
can actually do something about it?
I'll tell you a personal story and then I'll answer the question. I
Yeah.
was visiting a number of years ago, I was visiting someone in the hospital. They were experiencing the condition called cancer. And so they were in what is called the cancer ward. I was at Kaiser Hospital up on Sunset Boulevard here in Los Angeles. And so I was visiting the woman and I prayed for her and my heart was really open. I was really empathetic. And many people in that particular part of the hospital were experiencing cancer. So as I was leaving the hospital and instead of taking the elevator, for some reason, I was walking down the stairs. And when I got to Sunset Boulevard, I just felt overcome with everything that I experienced up in the cancer ward. I could feel the sadness. I could feel people wanting to die. They were ready to leave the body temple. And I started having suicidal thoughts. And I'll always remember this. I was standing on Sunset Boulevard and I looked to my left and there was a bus coming down the street. And I said to myself, I could throw myself in front of this bus and I could just end it all. And then I caught myself. I said, what am I thinking? I don't want to commit suicide. And I realized as an empath, I picked up all the emotions from the people in the cancer ward. And I quickly came back to myself, took some real deep breaths, felt my connection to the God presence. And I had another experience. I won't go into it. I don't want to make the story too long about another individual. And I started practicing something called radiation. Instead of picking up whatever was going on in a room, I would feel my way into love and joy or peace. And I would bring that into the room. I would radiate that. So if I'm about to walk into a meeting, I will feel the feeling of how I want that meeting to go. I want us to be at peace. And I'll bring peace to the room. And so instead of picking up vibrations, I radiate vibrations. So that way, I'm not just a vacuum cleaner just sucking up the vibrations of the world. By radiating, it gives me like a vibrational armor. And I don't pick up everything. I'm not trying to pick up the vibration of people. I don't want to pick up the vibration of the room. I don't want to pick up the vibration of the news. I radiate. Now, in counseling, if I'm counseling somebody and they have difficulty expressing their emotions or what they're trying to say, I will then go into my heart, open myself up, and I will feel what they're feeling. I'll let my empathetic gift, and then I'll feed it back to them. Oh, you're feeling this, you see. But other than that, I'm not allowing myself to be open to everything. When I meditate in the morning and go out into the world, I'm radiating peace. I'm radiating joy. So that creates an armor. Now, in the old days, people used to practice, they still do, it's still a good practice. You know, before you go out, you sit and you imagine that you're surrounded by white light.
Yes.
You see, and you feel yourself surrounded by this. It's really not white. It's really like, I do sound effects sometimes. It's like this luminosity. It's all around you.
Yeah.
And you start to practice being surrounded by this bright luminosity before you leave the house. And that gives you a kind of a protection. So you combine that with remembering a moment when you were at peace, remembering a moment when you felt total love, joy. You breathe into it, you exhale it, you radiate it out, and you walk into the world radiating that. And it gives you a lot of protection, you see.
This is an incredible piece of advice, and I'm going to heed to it myself because whenever I see animals, cats, dogs, oh my God, don't get me going. I start bowling. So, and it's difficult, but I think, like you said, you can be the light bringer into that room, and that's how you can help. If you're letting it all attach to your body and to your soul, and then you feel helpless, you're not going to be able to help the situation. And I think, like you said, having this armor and radiating this light and just radiating love, you can do more than just starting to bowl and cry and feel so bad. I mean, of course you do, but
Yes.
that makes a lot of sense. Well, I'm at the last question because I do know and I'm aware of your voice and I don't want to stress it out much further. So I'm just going to give you one last question, which is really related to my podcast, because I do know you have a lot of artists and celebrities and luminaries who you call friends, obviously Oprah, but you know, even a lot of actors who come and filmmakers that come to Agape services. What do you think is the reason that draws so many Hollywood creatives to Agape and to your teachings?
You know, I feel privileged to and honored that a lot of them are my friends. You know, you look at individuals like Sterling Brown, you look at individuals like
Yeah.
Stevie Wonder, and as you said, Hilary Swank over the years. She grew up at Agape, and Christina Applegate, who grew up at Agape. There's many, I could go on and on and on. And they don't consider themselves like special people, But a true artist it lives, a true artist lives on the edge of creativity. There's a creative urgency. They put themselves into a zone in which if they're playing a character, or if they're singing a song, or if they're involved in some kind of choreography and movement of dance, or even if they're painting or writing a book, they're on the edge of creativity. It's not perfunctionary. It's not just made up. It's not what's the word? They're not hacks. True
Mm.
artists. So I think they feel that when they're at Agape. They feel me being on the edge of being available to the spirit in that moment. They feel some of the artists that sing or dance being on the edge of bringing not a perfunctory experience, but a moment of like giving their all to the presence so that people can be in awe, you see. So I think they see a commonality between us. I'm a spiritual artist, a
Hmm.
spiritual artist in the moment. I'm just on the edge of being available to what needs to be said in that moment, just as, like perhaps like a month ago, you know, Stevie was there and he says,
I was there.
he says, I feel like I want to sing right now. There's so much, there's war going on in the world. Do you mind? And I said, maybe. Yeah, right. I'm going to tell Stevie Wonder no. I said, of
Let me
course.
think about it for a second.
So he got up at that moment after, it wasn't planned. It wasn't a part of the program, wasn't planned on that particular Sunday. He got up and sang Love's in Need of Love today. And the band got the music and we had some backup singers. It was just spontaneous within the moment, Love's in Need of Love today. He was on the edge. He just felt like he had to sing that song for the world because of the distress that was being caused by war and killing, you see. And then he came back a few weeks later and it was a part of our anniversary and he was the musical inspiration of the day. And then even in the middle of the music inspiration, he started playing Giant Steps by John Coltrane in the middle of his song. It was all spontaneous. I think they feel a kinship, with the Agape International, the way we do things. We're touching into creativity from the spirit, and then they feel that in their craft. So they see it kind of it's a camaraderie in creativity. There it is. It's a
Yeah.
camaraderie in creativity. And so a
Ooh.
lot of them come, writers. A lot. I see a lot of the stuff coming in movies and in programs. I can hear the phrases seeping
Oh,
into the scripts and things, of people who are there in the audience. We're influencing in a very beautiful and magnificent and inspirational way. Yeah.
it is so magical what you do at Agape, and you're magical. And it's amazing given your past and your background and your whole journey, your personal journey. I'll never forget the Oprah interview and where you have gone and how what you've become, which is, like you said, the unfolding, right? And I think that's a prime example, when we're talking about flaws, taking it full circle. We've all had our
You don't
dark.
measure yourself by what you have done, any mistakes you've made. That's not who you are. The mistakes you've made in life is not who you are. Those are the stepping stones along the way to what you're becoming, you see. It's interesting. I was with a young boy, he was 20, and for some reason the Gandhi and John Lennon came up in the conversation, and he's 20 years old, and he said, "Oh, I don't like Gandhi. He hit his wife." And I said, "Oh, hold on, young man. Hold on, hold on." Gandhi admitted that when he was a young man, he was a chauvinist. He was raised by the British Empire. He was influenced by that hyper masculinity, domination, colonial mind. I said, he grew into the Gandhi that we know, where he attributed his nonviolence to his wife and women. I said, do you want to be known for the worst thing you've ever done in your life? I said, think of yourself 3 years ago. And he put his hand over his face. He says, oh my God, 3 years ago, I was just a wild young kid doing wild and stupid things. I said, you want us to judge you about who you were 3 years ago or what you've become now and what you're becoming? I said, so you can't talk about John Lennon or Gandhi. And one of my favorite statements is, every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. That's
Ooh.
not original to me. That's an old statement. Every saint has a past and every sinner has a future. So we have to give each other a break. We have to give each other a reasonable doubt that we're all growing. We're all unfolding. I mean, one of the most worst places in the world these days is the internet and social media, because people hate and they tear each other down. They disagree with each other. And because they disagree, the other person is called all of these bad names because they have a disagreement. And we have to give each other, we have to have more reverence for each other, give each other a break, listen to each other instead of just being right. I often say, you want to be real rather than right. And
Mm.
being real is with a capital R. Real is spiritual. You want to listen. You want to love each other. No one comes out of the womb a hater. No little infant sitting in their crib hates people because of the color of their skin or where they were born. That's all learned. It's all brainwashed learning. And so we want to just come back to our real self. And we want to be strong enough to love. Love is the strongest power on the planet. And if we can be strong enough to love, we can actually shift the trajectory of the world to a golden age. Because there's one thing I know for sure. Justice without love is called revenge. And revenge will never build a world of kindness and compassion. We have to learn to love.
Wow. That is the perfect ending to this incredible, incredible interview and podcast. Reverend Michael, you have been amazing. What a gift you are. Let me turn this off real quick so I can say a proper goodbye. But I mean, thank you for coming. And like, this is going to be amazing. That's all I'm going to say.